Fabio Wardley versus Joseph Parker.
For me, that was a premature stoppage.
On my scorecard, he was a mile ahead, guys.
I would always prefer one too premature than one too late.
I think Parker's thrown it away. 100% he's underestimated him. They were taking such clean punches. It was quite sickening to watch at times. Personally, I think Cabell's all wrong for Daniel Dubois. As he has just said, 100 million wouldn't even get me out of bed. He's had the big fights, he's had the big stadiums. What does he want to fight for?
There's no point in risking it. It's a dangerous place to be, that boxing ring, when you are showing signs of age.
Eubank Ben, the rematch.
We can all speak this way now because Simon's not here, Cam.
You know Simon's watching it at home. He's like, why did I say I didn't want to see that? Welcome to episode 144 of Talk Boxing. Now, there's no Simon Jordan today, so I am in the hot seat, and I'm glad to be joined by Paul Smith and freeweight world champion, Mr. Duke McKenzie. Boys, how are you?
Good, Spence.
Good, thank you.
Brilliant, brilliant. Well, listen, look, let's get straight into it. Saturday night, what a fight. Fabio Wardley versus Joseph Parker. Duke, I'll start with you.
Go on.
You know, talk us through it. What did you think? He was a huge underdog and he pulled it off.
I never spoke to anybody that gave Wardley a chance, Fabio Wardley a chance, to be fair. Nobody that I spoke to said he was going to win. Nobody thought he could do what he did. There were times in the fight where I thought to myself, you know what? Any minute now, someone's going over, because it was like gunfight at the OK Corral. As soon as that bell went, they just went at it, Spence. They just started throwing punches. There was nobody was looking to get out the way of anything. They were stopping everything. They both took clean shots. So, I mean, from a spectator's point of view, it was fantastic.
I mean, Paul, before we get into both fighters, let's talk about the stoppage. What was your thoughts on that stoppage? It's very controversial. Was it right? Was it wrong? 10 seconds too early? 10 seconds too late? Where do you think?
So on the night watching it, I saw Parker sagging. I saw him leaning on the ropes. The tiredness, the fatigue had really kicked in. And on the night, I didn't have too many complaints about it. A little bit premature, but listen, you know more than anyone sitting in that chair. I'd rather always see a stoppage a bit too premature than a bit too late. And I felt he probably deserved a little bit more of a chance. He was still throwing, and the shots from Wardley, more importantly, weren't really landing all that cleanly on the ropes here, as we can see. A couple of them missed just before the stoppage. So I do think it's premature, yeah, but on the night, watching it there and then, I thought that's probably okay. So that's what Howard Foster sees, and I think he's a good referee. It's just unfortunate he's had a couple where they've been a bit too premature, but I would always prefer one too premature than one too late.
Now, Duke, I wanted to ask you a question about the standing 8 count, because that doesn't exist anymore. Now,
Really? That's where I was going with that.
Well, listen, this is it. Ray Boom Mancini.
Ray Boom Mancini.
When he boxed a Korean back in 1982 for the world lightweight title, the Korean collapsed in the 14th round.
Yes.
And he passed away, unfortunately passed away. They brought in a standing 8 count off the back of that. Now, they abolished the standing 8 count in 1998, ironically, when my career finished.
Right.
They abolished it. And this is where I'm at with this. I think that if the standing 8 count rule was still in place, and I think they should bring that back, by the way, if that rule was still in place, then I think the referee would have had enough time, because at that stage of the fight, you're in the 11th round, it's been a grueling fight, the action's been going one way, then it's been going the other way. You go, if the referee had the opportunity to jump in, stop the fight, give him the standing 8 count, he could make his mind up there and then about whether he was fit to continue at that stage of the game. Because, I mean, on my scorecard, he was a mile ahead, guys, and I don't know what your thoughts are, but what's your thoughts on the standing 8 count, Duke?
That's exactly what I thought was going to happen. Because when he was back against the ropes, Parker, right, he'd taken I think it was like an uppercut he took, that he was actually hurt from, but everything else that was coming his way was missing, because Wardley was just swinging at him at that point, and I thought the referee was going to jump in and go, you know what, do the standing 8 count, but he didn't. He just got in and stopped the fight. So for me, that was a premature stoppage. I know he's a top referee, and I'm not suggesting for 1 minute he doesn't know what he's doing, but for me personally, I think it was premature.
I mean, where are you at on it, Paul? Because, like I say, not a lot of people know that the standing 8 count actually doesn't exist anymore. You know, and I think that's why it's a good talking point that we do bring that back, because it does give these fighters opportunity. Parker was a mile ahead on points. I think that's fair to say. I mean, taking nothing away from Wardley in his performance. Do you think Parker should have taken a knee, or do you just think that's not in his makeup?
Probably not in his makeup, and probably not in many other fighters' makeup. I've seen referees giving standing counts on the content. I've seen it happening before, and I've screamed at the telly because it's not allowed, and over there it might be. But the reason why I don't think you can give standing counts is probably because of the referees, and I don't mean Howard Foster in this by any stretch of the imagination, but they would judge a big shot that knocks a head back as being a standing count worthy shot, which it probably isn't. And a lot of fighters are durable. I don't think Joseph Parker was physically as hurt as in gone. I think he was a lot of exhaustion and fatigue kicking in. He'd spent a lot of energy early on in the rounds when he hurt Wardley as well. Don't forget, he really went for it. And as you just said then, which I agree with totally, it was a hell of a paced fight. It was some fight. There was not much feeling out process. I had, as you said, he was widely ahead for me. I had a 7-3 when it got stopped in the 11th for Parker. I gave, I think, the 2nd and 3rd, and then the 10th when the tide was turning to Wardley. But a great effort from Wardley. But I think Wardley expended a lot of energy as well in that 11th round, trying to get him out of there. So the 12th round would have been very interesting had Howard Foster not stepped in, and also had Joseph Parker survived the round. But that's the big if. If he had have survived the round.
Let's get into the fight. Let's get into the fight and sort of break it down where the fight really was won and lost. I mean, what did you think of Joseph Parker's approach to the fight?
You know, after 3 rounds, I thought these are the levels that I've been talking about. The levels, after the first 3 rounds, you could see that the difference in levels between the two fighters. And by the end of the fight, when it was finished, I think Wardley's shown that he deserves to be at that level and he's earned the right.
Duke, I want to ask you about the second round, actually, because Parker took a huge uppercut in the second round and it brought a gross swelling on his head. We saw that after the fight, but that uppercut, that could have been the turning point on why Parker maybe approached the fight the way that he did, because that was a huge shot. He thought he was cut, didn't he? He was dabbing away
He was dabbing away at it. He was dabbing away because, like you say, he thought he was cut. And it was, I don't know, he did get a cut. There was something there, wasn't there, on the eyelid. But neither of these guys were really thinking about not missing with the shots. They were just throwing shots. In the general direction where they were hoping they were going to land. You know, Wardley threw the kitchen sink. I mean, they both started off so early. Yeah. They just started trading off so early. That was the real surprise with me. There was no feeling out process. They just started throwing shots.
I think you have to respect Joseph Parker, don't you, in the position he was in. He was the WBO interim, so he's next in line for Usyk.
Mate.
You go, for him to put it all on the line,
Spence.
And then after the fight was stopped, by the way, in that 11th round, now, there's a lot of controversy surrounding that. Was it everyone saying it was too early? We know as fighters, sometimes you got to save the fighter for another day. My feeling towards this fight was it was stopped at the right time. And there was no complaints, by the way, from Parker either, was there?
Or Andy Lee. I watched Andy Lee straight away, and he put his head in his hands straight away. No, I agree with what you're saying in the sense that that was I think Joseph Parker will have woke up Sunday morning thinking, why did they take that shot? He's just give away and not by choice, by the way, he's had it taken away, but he was in a mandatory position to fight Usyk next. No matter what happened, he was next in line. And he's took a fight where Wardley, I think he felt that he could just get out of there, and it looked like most of the time in a fight that he could. And it's massively backfired.
Yeah, for me, you know, I think Parker's thrown it away. I mean, not only tactically for this fight, but like I say, I don't really think he had to fight Fabio Wardley.
He got greedy, didn't he?
Yeah, he probably thought to himself, you know what, I'll fight him. The guy can fight, and if I beat him, then it's going to boost my stock.
Do you think he could have underestimated him, Duke?
100% he's underestimated him. I mean, you know, if you look at Fabio Wardley's record, right, it's stacked with knockouts, TKOs. So he's a puncher. Yeah. But Joseph Parker's probably thought to himself, you know what, this is the kind of guy I need to motivate me because he's such a dangerous opponent. And, you know, I'm going to beat him because I'm classier than him, which is what I thought. I thought Parker had too much class and ring savvy for Wardley, but it just didn't work out. It backfired on him, didn't it?
What you know more than anyone is power at levels doesn't always carry. And I was worried whether Wardley's power at the level that he's shown it to be at recently would carry up to that level with someone like Joseph Parker, who's sitting in the second place in the Ring Magazine rankings.
Derek Chisora was speaking to us after the fight. Let's hear what he had to say.
Listen, I called it. I said it already. Fabio is going to stop him because Joseph hasn't boxed anybody for a year, and his last 3 opponents in Saudi haven't been great opponents, as I've heard one of his pals say. And it was made for Fabio. You know, and Fabio's got heart. When Joseph hit him with the biggest shot he had, and he carried on, and Joseph started huffing and puffing, I knew Joseph was no feet. So you got stopped. Fabio is very stubborn. You don't understand. I've shared. I think I've known Fabio almost for 15 years. I've done at least about 200 rounds with Fabio, and I hear him with so much lead, he keeps coming back. You understand? So Fabio is so good, bro. Can he challenge Usyk? I don't. No, not yet. I would like to see him and Daniel Dubois.
How big a problem do you think ring rust was for Joseph Parker there?
Well, I'm not so sure it had that much of an effect on him. What really the concerning point for me was that he came in so heavy. And, you know, we've seen it before. Bigger doesn't make you better in the heavyweight division. Doesn't make you stronger. It slows you down. It makes you more tired. And he looked tired to me from about the 7th round onwards.
Do you think that was the wrong game plan?
100%. You know, it's not like... I really think that if Parker would have boxed more as opposed to try to fight Fabio Wardley more, because Fabio Wardley can only do one thing. He's a fighter. He's a puncher. He's not a boxer per se. When the bell goes, he's coming straight at you and he wants to take your head off. So with Parker's experience, you would have thought that he would have used that boxing savvy that he has and outboxed him in the early rounds and then try to turn it on him in the second half of the fight.
Well, Paul, look, talking about Joseph Parker's weight, I think that he's done it the right way, though, isn't he? He's been managing it the right way because he's slowly been growing into the weight and he's putting on muscle mass and, you know, that goes for his athleticism as well. It's not like he just sort of bulked up and he slowed down. He's done it in time, and that can be a good thing. I think that was the game plan, to sort of try and grow with the size of, you know, the other heavyweights. Because if you go back, believe it or not, he was only 24 when he boxed, won the world title against Andy Ruiz Jr., where he was significantly smaller back then.
Sure.
But he's grown into the size well, and that was obviously all part of the game plan for Andy Lee as well. So, I mean, what do you read into the weight?
I think he's got a good team around him. I don't know what goes on behind closed doors. I've seen how they train on the stuff that they show us, and they always see this, people saying, oh yeah, he's a good trainer, but you don't know unless you've actually been in there with him. Now, I think Andy Lee is a good trainer. I know his boxing brain from his days when he was boxing himself in the amateurs. I was on the same scene at the same time as him. He's gone right through the pro cards. He's been a world champion. He's trained with people like Adam Boo, Emmanuel Stewart, obviously, and he's seen so much around them gyms, so he's picked it up and he's passing it on to fighters now. The game plan, I think Mayo went out the window the minute he hit him in the first round. And then you know what it's like, you catch someone and all of a sudden it's, I can actually get him out of here. But then Wardley comes back into it and hits him. Who knows whether he was on a little bit of autopilot, whether he was just wanting to close the show. But it was one of them fights where, as Duke said, it just ebbed and flowed. And then it becomes a bit of a war of attrition. Then it becomes a bit of, I know I'm levels above you, so I'm going to try and get you out of here anyway, rather than boxing. Well, I think Parker got greedy. And I think he got greedy in the sense that he was well ahead on points and all he had to do was box and see it out, but he's gone for the knockout.
Well, what do you make of the corner work with Andy Lee? Because through those rounds there, when there was one big barrage of punches, and that could have been as early as, I think, the second round when he got hit with that uppercut and whatnot. It was very cool and calm in the corner, as we know it should be. And Andy Lee says, that's it, you've seen his best lot now, that's all he's going to give you, that's it. Well, Fabio Wardley's not that guy. He will keep coming and he keeps you more and more, like he done in the 10th round. So what do you make of the corner work there, telling him, like, you've seen his best now, and that's as much you're going to get?
Well, I mean, that to a point, that was right. That was his best, because he hit him with a really good shot, and he was continuing to do so. But what they probably didn't bank on, that he could sustain it for the duration of the fight. I mean, they both got tired, but it's like they both got their second wind, like, real quick. I mean, Fabio got his second wind a lot quicker than Joseph Parker. But like I say, they were taking such clean punches. It was quite sickening to watch at times. Yeah. You know, they were just standing and trading off. Nobody was blocking, slipping, pulling him in, smothering the work. You know, it was like hell for leather for quite long periods.
Well, look, I caught up with Fabio Wardley after the fight. Let's see what he had to say.
It was something special. I said to everyone beforehand, everyone in the build-up, it was going to be drama, it was going to be exciting, and I never failed to deliver on that part. I might not have all the pretty boxing skills, but I've got everything else it takes to be a champion, and I proved that tonight.
Yeah, Fabio, I think that boxing skills, they leave you at a certain point and it becomes a psychological battle. And one thing you showed us is you got the minerals, you got that mental toughness to pull yourself through moments in there. And Parker put you through those moments. But boy, I mean, the character you showed there is insane, man.
Yeah, look, again, I said it previously and I say it again now, that everything, all credit to Joseph Parker, him, his team, for Andy Lee for having the balls to take the fight. And look, he's a man of courage, and thank you for the opportunity, but this is Fabio Wardley's night. I want it. I said this at the beginning. Like, everyone thinks I came from white collar, I came out of nowhere, and I'm just happy to be here, and that's not the story. I want more. Every fight I go in, I believe I can beat them. I believe I can knock them out, and I believe I deserve to be higher up the list.
Alexander Usyk will get mandated, you'll get mandated to fight Usyk next. Obviously, that's the fight that you want.
100%. There's nothing I want more. There's nothing I want more. All the belts, all the marbles, let's go.
Now, Paul, he said the white-collar boxing, you know, the background of coming from white-collar boxing was not the story. But listen, boys, we know it is the story. That is the story. I mean, it don't happen often, does it? A guy that's sort of like gone through the ranks the way that he has. Dillian White saw him, years ago. He come into the gym and said, this kid's got something. Yeah. 10 years later, from when he first laced up a pair of gloves, he goes and beats a Ring Magazine #2 fighter. I mean, it is a story, isn't it?
He's gone and beat a Ring Magazine #2 fighter who won a world title 10 years ago when he just started white collar boxing. Now, I know he won't want to keep banging on about the story, but it is a story and it's a great story. And I did a little video on this myself where I've said, anyone that's debating to get into boxing that they think they might be too old, get down the gym. You've got nothing to lose. Listen, that is the exception to the rule, by the way.
Exactly.
The normal rule is going through the old amateur setup, winning your schoolboy, junior, your senior titles, and then turning professional with a good pedigree behind you. We've lost count of the amount of fighters that do it that way. These type of fighters like Fabio, like Curtis Woodhouse, like a couple of others, there are a handful of them, Scott Quigg, let's say, who didn't really have much amateur career, but then do great in the pros. But it is the exception to the rule. But just enjoy it while it's happening. He's done unbelievable for himself, and his next fight could be, possibly will be, against Alexander Usyk for the 4 belts and the Ring Magazine title, and he's going to change his life completely with the financial reward for that.
Do you know what? Like, if we go back, rewind 10 years, 20 years, when he's 20 years of age, he's done no boxing. He's now where he is now. If you go back to Portman Road in June and you saw the performance there against Justice Hooney, who had that amateur pedigree, and you looked at that and you go, I don't know if Fab Ray is going to make the grade here. How impressed were you, Duke, by this performance over the one against Justice Hooney? Well, or was the Hooney one now, in the grand scheme of things, a great performance?
Well, that's what's made him, isn't it? That fight. And Paul will tell you, you can learn from fight to fight, right? But the Hooney fight actually made him, because he didn't look great in the Hooney fight. What he's done from that fight, he's gone away, looked at where he was going wrong. I mean, he jabbed a lot better in this fight. He was varying the jab a lot better in this fight, Wardley, going up and down with the jab.
That was really good.
Yeah, which was quite classy from him in the bigger picture. And then obviously we know he's heavy-handed. He kept dropping the right hand over. What really surprised me about Parker was he stood for it. Yeah. Time and time again, he stood for it. His left hand was so low at times. He was inviting the right hand from Wardley, and Wardley went, there, mate, take that. And he gave it to him.
I mean, that's what brings me to this point. You go, did Joseph Parker underestimate him that much? Because the game plan from Parker that seemed to want to bully the bully, if you like, in Fabio Wardley, and wanted to take that away from him, you go like, what was the idea of standing there with that left hand low, inviting the guy for the one shot that we know he's dangerous for?
He's got. He kept inviting it, and there were times, obviously, when he did get his hands up, but it wasn't for long. So maybe Wardley made him fight Parker his fight. Do you see what I mean? Maybe Wardley, he drew him in, he just kept inviting him.
Early on in the fight, I got a sense of the minute Parker went for it and upped it and let a couple of combinations go, he was the boss and back in charge, and he was sort of putting manners on Wardley early on. But he did tire, and he did work a lot. He did work very hard in them early rounds. I felt that it was a good pace fight. So when he started to fatigue, I said this on the night, I think the reason why Joseph Parker lost is he was mentally broken by Fabio Wardley later on. And you know, and I know, when you hit someone and keep hitting them and he just keep coming, it asks questions of you then. It breaks your heart because you're getting tired, you're starting to feel the pace, you're throwing a lot of power shots. And you think, this fella's not going to just stop. And he didn't stop. He just kept coming. And in the end, I think the tide turned massively, probably round 10, then 11 it was done.
That was the point, wasn't it? Like, you looked at the fight and the way the fight was unfolding, and you go, like, Joseph Parker, every time he picked the pace up and he's putting on, you're thinking, Fabio might break here. He might break. But he's got that rare thing that fighters that don't break, don't lose heart, don't lose soul, and stick with it. And they're difficult guys to beat. I suppose the question I'm going to ask you, Duke, did he prove Fabio Wardley now that he's world class?
Oh, he's 100% world class, because Joseph Parker is a world class fighter. And as Paul so rightly said, when Joseph Parker put the combinations together in 3s and 4s, there was only going to be. It looked like there was only going to be one winner. But Wardley went, you know what, mate? I'll take that, and I'll take it again. And he just kept chipping away, plugging away, swinging that right hand over, and once it connected, everything else came in.
We've said it on here before, Spencer. I'm not trying to call names or blame games, but I've criticised fighters for not having what Fabio Wardley's got. And what Fabio Wardley has, with a little bit of ability, a lot of heart, big pair of balls, a lot of dedication and determination and desire will get you further than all the ability in the world if you haven't got that. And having that has got him to probably the highest highs in the sport, and he's completely like made his life if he gets this shot, and I'm really happy for him.
I think he said it himself in an interview with me afterwards. He says, "Listen, it's not all about boxing ability because as you guys know more than anyone, when we get into those penultimate rounds, you get into 10, 11, 12, and the physicalities leave you. It becomes a mental battle, and that's the difference between him. Like different fighters have a different pain threshold, don't they? Yeah. And they're willing to go to, like, you look at Cole Frotch is a great prime example. You go, he may not have been technically the best, but that guy was willing to go somewhere that not many of us go.
Yeah, and some fighters can do that. Obviously, you know, some fighters have got that sort of ballsy approach where they're not boxers, but they'll just stick in and they'll stick. And you know, it doesn't matter how many rounds have gone by, that's what you're going to get from them. Where other guys, I suppose like myself as an example, I like to box. You know, you like to just feel your way through round after round after round without taking those chances, without getting involved.
And that is boxing, but the ones like myself who can't box like that at that top level. Listen, I was a good amateur boxer, I was a good pro boxer, the senior, all national champions, boxed for England and that. But I used to get in fights as an amateur and think, this kid's a 6'2" southpaw from the Repton. I can maybe try and beat him at his game, but I'll definitely beat him at my game. And I'm not going to give him a chance. No. And then I laugh with my son and I say, like, we were brought up on them Rocky films and Rocky IV. Who wants it more? And that's what the lads would shout in the gym, like push to the end, like to never give in.
That's the thing. Who wants it, isn't it?
Who wants it more at the end? And there was one fella in that ring who wanted it more than the other one.
Yeah.
And even though the fight was well in Joseph Parker's favour, he was well up on the cards. The tide turned in the 10th, and I think he mentally broke. And that's not criticising him, by the way, because he's tough and he's durable and he will never give in himself. But Fabio Wardley was not going to be beaten that night.
No. Listen, he's been a big underdog in a number of fights. Going back to Nathan Gorman when he won the British and Commonwealth title, you looked at that, he was the underdog there, and he come through against David Adelaide as well. So he spent a career on proving people wrong, feeding off being the underdog, which is a quality on its own. He's going to be the underdog if he fights this next guy in his next fight, and that's Alexander Usyk.
Yeah,
I mean, I can't believe I'm even saying it, but we're in that conversation now. Can he really beat Usyk? Do you think that he has the tools? Because he showed us something that not a lot of fighters have.
Well, several fights. You see, when Wardley knocked out Fraser Clark, right? I said it then. The only person I believed at that point that would give Alexander Usyk a fight, I'm not suggesting he beats him, but I'm saying the only person that gives him a fight is a Fabio Wardley style kind of fighter. Because Fabio Wardley doesn't know what he's going to do. But like I said, you know, he's ballsy, he's strong, he's a man, you know, and he'll come to fight.
But that's a quality on its own, isn't it? We were talking about that.
He'll come to fight. He can't take a step backwards because he doesn't know how to. His mentality is, once that bell goes, I'm going to win. By hook or by crook, whatever it takes, I'm going to win. And he puts it all out there. So, you know, but again, we're talking about the great Alexander Usyk.
Where does Joseph Parker go next? How does he rebuild? He said he's still going to continue.
I thought about this the other day. He's going to be praying and hoping for the rematch, I think. But Wardley honourably could give him it, but I wouldn't if I was Wardley myself. I'm going to wait out for you've just snatched the golden ticket from his hand, and you're the first in line now, and that's it. And if and when Usyk's ready to fight, here's a funny one for you. If and when Usyk's ready to fight, then Wardley will get the fight and get the payday for it. If Usyk doesn't fight and retires, Fabio Wardley's a two-time world champion.
Yeah.
He's got 2 belts.
It's actually incredible, isn't it? I mean,
it's a crazy story.
Listen, Daniel Dubois, Joseph Parker, that fight was meant to happen, wasn't it? The fight got cancelled at the 11th hour. Yeah. Is that a fight that we could see?
I mean, an ideal fight for Parker. Will want any way back in the door now, and as I said, I really, really like Joe Parker. I think he's a great fella. I think he's brilliant for boxing, and what he's done has been phenomenal in the ring as well for his career. But I think he'll be kicking himself right now, and he'll be looking at where's my way back in here? Which one of these can I get back in with?
But you're only one fight away in this heavyweight mix right now. You're one fight, 1 win away.
And the belts will become fragmented at some point once Alexander Usyk moves over. Then you're going to have 4 belts up for grabs, and he could quite easily walk back into a world title fight, even against Fabio Wardley.
Well, it's going to be interesting to see. Well, we spoke about the heavyweight division last week and the lack of clarity around what the fighters are going to do and who's fighting who. Well, I spoke to a lot of the fighters actually on Saturday night, and guys, we seem to now starting to understand where these fights are going, how they're happening, who's up with who. It's going to be interesting. Let's start with Agit Cabio. I caught up with him on Saturday night.
January 10th, I come first about I come fighting home. We come back home, but after we will see, you know. I say I can fight everyone, but first about I make a homecoming fight in Germany, and after we watch what is the situation. You know, he says this, why? I can fight with Daniel, why not? In UK or in Germany, I think this is a good fight for the fans, you know. You know, I hate trash talk, brother, I will not make trash talk, but I think for the fans, this is a sport competition, you know. I think he fight 2 times with Usyk, he fight 1 time with AJ. Why not? He fight with Caballel.
Well, what we do know is that Agit Caballel is boxing January the 10th out in Germany, a homecoming, and he will defend his WBC interim title. Now, where do you think this one's going, guys? I know that Daniel Dubois, who I spoke to there as well, said, I want to fight Caballel. I'll fight him in his place. I'll fight him here in England. Is that a reality, first of all? And where do you think it's going to go? Duke, I'll throw it to you first.
Personally, I think Caballel's all wrong for Daniel Dubois. Caballel's not a comeback fighter. That's not the sort of guy you look at and go, you know what, I'll take him as a comeback fight. That guy's world class. And he will be world champion one day. I think he's all wrong for Daniel Dubois. Dubois needs a soft touch. He needs to get a few rounds under his belt, someone he can do some rounds with. You know, maybe blow out, maybe, you know, after 6, 7, 8 rounds or whatever it is. But Caballel's all wrong for him.
But Paul, what's your thoughts on that? Because, like, listen, Daniel said, look, I'm ready to fight, I'm ready to go. And we know that Frank Warren's controlling most of the heavyweight division now. I mean, the names he had there at the show were just quite insane. And everyone now is getting itchy feet. Everyone wants to box everyone. We know that Alexander Usyk is holding those titles, but they will fragment. And the fighters want the opportunity. I mean, classic example, we got a WBA interim against a WBO interim. They both could have waited it out, but they boxed each other. So that's, you know, we are getting the fights that we want to see. So Daniel Dubois versus Agit Caballel, that's a reality, right?
I think Duke hit the nail on the head. I wouldn't go anywhere near him if I was Dubois at this stage. He's just coming off.
But he said he wants it.
I know.
Yeah, but sometimes you'd be a bit foolhardy.
He wants it, but I don't think. Yeah, I don't think he's ready for it. And I think just go and have a bit of a touch. There's enough names in Britain that you could fight against.
Get yourself going again.
It's a stacked division in Britain and in around the world. There's enough heavyweights in and around the top 20 that you can fight in Dubois and relatively beat well. But I think there's nothing wrong with having a little bit of a comeback fight after you've just had a loss on the biggest stage.
Where would you go, Duke, with like Daniel Dubois right now? Like, because he wants to get back in the mix. He says he wants the best names. But if you were looking after him, where would you put him next? Like, you talk about warm-up fights. Like, what sort of calibre of fight are we talking?
Fraser Clark? Somebody like that? Fraser Clark? You know, he doesn't need a marquee heavyweight to come back against. No disrespect to Fraser Clark, but Fraser Clark's level, for me, is the British level, British standard level. So that would be an ideal kind of fight for Daniel Dubois to come back against. You know, he doesn't need a hard fight to come back with. You know, he just got his face wiped on the floor by Alexander Usyk. We don't know the psychological scars. So what he needs now is to get his confidence back, get some rounds under his belt, and then we see where he goes from there.
I think a good thing is, though, that we are now getting the fights in this heavyweight division that we've all craved for so long. The politics of the sport now gone out of it. Most of them boxing under the DAZN banner, you know, the 60-40 splits and who was going to get what. That's all gone now. So as boxing fans, we're all winning, aren't we?
Sure.
Now, a guy that I spoke to on Saturday night as well, and I'll talk about that in a minute. But let's catch up with Tyson Fury and see what he had to say last week.
Train as hard today as I would have do in camp. Do you know what I mean? If I'm training for a world title, I don't train any harder than I am now. I'm training 3 times a day at the moment, going for a run, 4-mile run in the morning. It could be anywhere between 4 and 10 miles. I come in the afternoon and do a weight session, body part, whatever it might be, shoulders, back, legs, whatever. And then in the evening, I'll come in and do 10, 12 rounds of boxing. Non-stop? It's non-stop, really. So I haven't lost my fitness. So I know I've only been retired 11 months or 10 months, whatever it is, but there's no Gypsy King in this life. Just a normal retired life. The Gypsy King's dead. Do you know what I mean? He ain't a thing anymore. Gypsy King only come to light around the massive events and boxing. It was all boxing based. And now I don't do any boxing anymore. Well, the Gypsy King is dead. You get to a certain level, a certain point in your life and career, and it's not really about anything else anymore. You've done everything you wanted to do. You've achieved everything. Like them points, like the last 5 years of my career, I've been 2-time world champion. I made enough money to retire on. It's like anything now is a bonus. You know what I mean? So like I've not really spoke to Usyk since the fight, but yeah, I know he's said some stuff like not negative stuff. Like good stuff, like he wouldn't mind a third fight. Obviously, it's a big payday for him, isn't it? and for me also. But it's just like, for me now, what's the point? Like, if you give me another 100 million, what am I going to do with it? Like, it's not going to affect my life at all. It won't affect my kids' life. It won't affect their kids' life.
It was interesting what he had to say then. I caught up with Tyson on Saturday night and I asked him that question. I said, listen, are we going to see you back? You know, we want you back. And he said, you know what, Spence, I've done it. I've been there, seen it, got the T-shirt. You know, I'm 37 years of age. I've got a wife, I've got kids, and now I want to live my life. And I sort of believed it, if I'm honest, because like we're one of those, aren't we? We go Tyson Fury, you don't know what side of the bed he's going to wake up on. Will he fight? Will he not fight? But he didn't really show any ambition, any desire to be getting him back in the ring anytime soon. Now, for me, I think the only fights that tempt him, obviously, are AJ and Alexander Usyk. I mean, where are you, Duke? Do you think that we see him back in the ring again? Do you think we need him back in the ring?
Do we need him back in the ring? Of course we do. He's a character, right? But he's a two-time world champion. And as he has just said, 100 million wouldn't even get me out of bed. So that tells you his desire for victory, to win and be champion again, that's gone. And once it's gone, it's not coming back. It doesn't come. You can't reignite that fire once it's gone. All the fire's been burnt out now. He's had the big fights. He's had the big stadiums. You know, he's been a world champion not once but twice. You know, he's got a stack load of money. What does he want to fight for?
Paul, Duke's got a valid point, hasn't he? It's like when like really with a fighter, you go, look, the fighters are the first ones to know it, but the last ones to admit it. And Tyson Fury now seems to be admitting that the fighter's left him. So you go, the temptation not for money. Obviously, look, for modern eras and then cementing those, we want to see Tyson Fury versus Anthony Joshua. And they're at the stage of the career. Outside of that fight, for me, Paul, I don't think there's any fight for him.
No, and I think there's been signs there from the Ngannou fight that it is towards the end, and there's no shame in that. He's had an unbelievable career. What he's just said there is that should hit home. I've always said I don't understand these fighters like Canelo. Maybe because because I didn't do what they did. But you're Canelo, you're even Fury, Joshua. You've got 100 million quid sitting in the bank minimum. An offer of another 100 million isn't going to, as he just said, isn't going to really affect him. But I don't know how they get out of bed anyway to go to the gym every day and put the bodies through what we have to put. I've got a sling on from mine. Mine wasn't even near what theirs are. You put your body through hell every day in the gym, as he's just been saying, in retirement, he's still training 2-3 times a day. To then get up for it, to fight another man who's got just as much hunger as you and desire as you and skill as you, it's very difficult for them. And the old Marvin Hagler saying is, you know, it's tough to get out of bed when you're wearing silk pyjamas. They're all in silk pyjamas, but they're still getting out of bed and doing it. I respect and admire them all so much for that. But there's a stage where if you are showing your age, which I think he has done a couple of times, and I mean this from a place of love for him, there's no point in risking it. You're a long time retired, spend the time with your kids, enjoy your kids, keep your faculties about you, because it's a dangerous place to be, that boxing ring, when you are showing signs of age.
Well, there's two fighters that I caught up with on Saturday night that have put their bodies through hell and have been there and back, and they are coming in, they're in the twilight of their careers, and that's Derek Chisora and Dillian Whyte. Let's hear what these guys had to say.
Great fight, you know. I wasn't planning to fight till next year, but I thought, you know, let me start training, get myself in shape a little bit, because heavyweight boxing, you never know what's going to happen. And then one day I wake up and my phone ring, hey, you want to fight Derek Chisora? I said, yeah. I said, why not? You know what I mean? I've never been scared to fight anyone, never turned a fight down, so why not? I'm not getting any younger, so why waste time? Go and fight these young undefeated guys when there's proper fights to have, you know what I mean? I take it one fight at a time and see how I feel. If I blow Derek Chisora in the round, I'm not going to retire in that, you know what I mean? If I struggle with him and lose over points, then I have to think of retirement. If I go out and blow him away in good fashion. Derek's a warrior. Derek's a tough man. He's hard and a tough man. If you stand in front of him and trade with him, he can knock anyone out as he's showing. He put Joe Joyce down, you know what I mean? You know, and he put Wallen down. These ain't punks.
Yes, that's what we were cooking. You know, it's my last fight. So I figure I want to give the public exactly what it was meant to be. Gerard Miller, and I say, you know what? People want to see me and Dylan, you know, third one in Manchester. Let me tell you something. Manchester on the 13th of December. Watch this space. Thank you. God bless you.
Well, Duke, if the first two fights are anything to go by, I mean, that's not a bad way to end your career, is it? I mean, one, if we believe Derek and it's his 50th and out, and I think that it is, to be fair. He's had a long career. But Dillian Whyte, perfect dance partner for both of them?
Absolutely the perfect dance partner for both of them. They're both past their sell-by dates. They're both, you know, very proud men. And we saw in Dillian Whyte's last fight what we thought we had left. He got blown out of the water by Moses Atalma, right? And, you know, Derek Chisora just keeps proving people wrong, time and time again. You write him off, you say he's finished, he's washed up, he's over the hill. Then he knocks somebody out. You know, and no, but he does though, doesn't he? That's how he is.
It's crazy at this stage of his career that he's actually in the form of his life. You go, look at the first 2 fights they had. The first one was a split decision that went Dillian Whyte's way, and it was a little bit controversial. The second one, the 11th round knockout, where Dillian come from behind and knocked Derek out. I suppose the question I'm going to ask you is, Paul, at this stages of both of their careers, does Derek Chisora actually start favourite going into this one?
After Atonement, possibly how Dylan looked, then possibly yes. I'm one of them who said probably 5 fights ago I want to see Derek Chisora retire.
Yeah.
And then when he fights, I'm thinking, oh, well, I'll watch and I hope he's okay. I'm okay with this fight because both fighters are in the same stages of the career. If it was Derek against Atonement, I'd be unhappy. Sure. If it was against another young man like Cabiel or any of the others on the list that we've just been speaking about, then I wouldn't be too happy. But if what he's saying is true and if we can keep him to his word that it's 50 and out, then I'm okay with it because Dillian Whyte at the stage that he's in his career as well. The same with Dylan. I don't want to see Dillian Whyte go on for too long and ruin his legacy if he has another loss. The Atonement fight, I heard stories of an injury and everything else that he couldn't just get into, but Atonement's just class, I think, and I think he's shown he's a future star. So, yeah, it's one of them fights. It's not really anything that's going to sort of set the boxing game on fire, but it'll be a good fight. It'll sell out.
It's a romantic fight, isn't it?
Yeah,
I think it's a fitting way for both of the guys that are pretty much at the end of their careers.
They both just pretty much said that. They're not saying, you know, it's like we're going to settle beef or squash all this. Well, the way they all say it, it's a fight. I'm not going to fight the young guy, but I'll fight Derek again because why not?
Well, that's two guys that are at the end of their careers, but I caught up with a guy that is coming through the ranks at the moment, young Moses Atalma. Now, let's see what Moses had to say.
I hope Derek Chisora and Dillian Whyte have a good fight. They both got home safe and made a lot of money.
Listen, Kubrat Pulev was the name. It was going to be for the WBA regular title. I believe negotiations have now broken down. Can you give us any updates on that?
Right, I actually couldn't. I wish I could, but I actually couldn't.
We need to see you back in the ring. We was hoping before Christmas. Could it be delayed?
Possibly. Listen, I don't want to sit here and lie in front of the camera. I'll just say what I know. And as of right now, I don't know.
We seem twice.
If you see me post a flyer, post a poster, know that's real. Anything else, just noise.
But you're ready to go right now, right?
Of course.
Kubrat Pulev was the name. December the 13th, Manchester was the date. That seems to be in doubt now, Paul. I don't think we see him out this year, do you?
Probably not. I think every fight he has from now on is going to be very carefully detailed and looked after and matched in the right way. And they have to pick the right opponents for him. It's okay blasting through these people, but once you go past one, you can't come back then, in my opinion, and especially with a kid like him. So his level now has got to be someone around Dillian Whyte and above, but not too much of a step above because he still hasn't got the rounds under his belt yet and he's still got to build that engine. How difficult is that, Duke, to sort of hold him back because he is that good, isn't he? Like you're talking about Moses Atalma and you're looking at, that a lot of heavyweights now are in the twilights of their careers and we've just had Fabio Wardley with a brilliant win. You've got Joseph Parker. I mean, is that where he's sat right now? You're looking at it and going, could you see a Moses Atalma versus, let's say, a Joseph Parker, someone of that sort of level, or is that too far? I mean, how do you guide him?
It's hard because, 1 minute he's going to be fighting, then the next minute, obviously, whoever he was going to fight is pulled out of the fight because they're all demanding so much money now because they know that it's potentially a career-defining or a career-ending kind of a fight. So where they go with him or how they go with him, they got to tread water, and it's going to be very, very, very difficult. As I've suggested before, it would be worth their while to invest and bring over maybe a few imports. If you can't get nobody from over here, why not get a couple of Americans to come over, or get an American fighter to come over, or somebody from that ilk that's going to give him the test, not beat him, but give him a good test. Give him a run out. Get some rounds under his belt. We don't know how good this boy is. We don't know if he's going to have a mental breakdown after 6, 7, 8, 10 rounds in a hard fight where he's had to dig deep, or he's been cut, or he's been decked. None of these questions have been answered because he on paper, he's that good. He's knocking everybody out.
Now, another heavyweight that I've caught up with who's just entered the heavyweight ranks as well, Lawrence Okoli. Caught up with him on Saturday night. Let's hear what Lawrence had to say.
Excited about that. It's going to be good to get a homecoming fight. Great for my family, great for my parents, great for that community. We go do that and then we head straight into hopefully a Caballero fight.
Listen, I know that last time I spoke to you was out in Nigeria and you was talking about, you wanted an opportunity against any of the current heavyweights out there right now. Who do we get on the 19th?
I'm not sure. I can't lie to you and say it's going to be Caballero someone. We'll see what the promoters are able to deliver, but it's my guarantee and
2026. As long as I do my job in December, I'm having all the big fights. I feel like every person on that stage is a possible fight I can have. They can call me anytime for any of those fights. I've been at world level for a long time now, so there's no fight that I'm going to say no to.
Well, guys, Lawrence Okoli there saying it is December the 19th. Lagos, Nigeria is the place that he wanted to fight. We've got David Adelaide on that card as well. How good is it that boxing's actually opening up in that part of the world? Because we never had it since Ali Foreman days. I mean, it's brilliant for the sport, right?
Yeah, I mean, how they've got the connections or why they've even gone over there is beyond me in the first place. But the fact that they have, and they branched out, and now they've got, like you say, in Nigeria, they can be putting shows on over there. This isn't the first one, right? They've had a couple over there.
Yeah, they've done one in Ghana, which we covered, and we've done one in Nigeria as well. But I think, Duke, how it's happened is with, you know, Saudi Arabia coming into boxing and these countries seeing how well that's done for Saudi Arabia with the tourism and, you know, the acceptance of the country. I think that, you know, places like Ghana and places like Nigeria go, this is brilliant for us. Our government are getting behind it because they go, you know, we want people to start visiting our country so we can move on, and putting the big fights there is a great outlet, which says a lot for boxing right now, Paul, where boxing's currently at.
Yeah, that's exactly what's happened in Saudi Arabia. I went to Saudi Arabia when we put the Callum fought there in 2019, and tourism wasn't allowed at the time, and we had to get visas and we had to do it the old school way. And we went, and it was totally different to what it is now. And I love the place now. We're there all the time. I look after the Saudi fighters, the Al Youth, and we go over there a lot. We get to see what goes on behind the scenes, how the country works, and it's fascinating what's happening now with the amount of tourism that's in there. But the popularity of the country is skyrocketing, and it's all started through investment and funding into boxing, which has been great for boxing, great for them, great for us, great for everyone around the world. And we're seeing these good fights. So if that can happen in places like Nigeria, places like Ghana and Africa in general, then great. I boxed in South Africa in 1998 for England in the amateurs, and I got lucky enough to be able to visit. Obviously not up in the north of the country and the continent, sorry, but I've actually been there and enjoyed the place. And there's a lot of talent that comes from Africa over the years that we've seen. We get the tough people getting flown over, the tough journeymen to fight against who are durable and last, but there is actually a very good infrastructure in place that if it gets a lot more investment and a lot better coaching, then it can obviously rise up.
Duke, so we know David Adelaide and Lawrence Okoli are boxing in separate fights on the 19th of December in Nigeria. Now I'm hearing that Matchroom are doing a show on the 20th of December, and that could be Craig Richards versus Dan Aziz topping the bill out there, which is like brilliant, isn't it?
Over there again?
Over there, on the 20th of December Ghana, yeah. So we've got Nigeria 19th, 20th Ghana.
Wow.
And so we know these fights are now happening in Africa, which is great, and we know what's happening with all the heavyweights, which is brilliant, and that leads me on to Anthony Joshua. Now, we heard that Anthony Joshua was possibly going to box before Christmas, and it could land. He wanted to box in Ghana anyway. Could he be on the undercard out there? Craig Richards versus Dan Aziz, you know, topping the bill with Anthony Joshua in an 8-rounder, just a tick-over fight to get himself back into the swing of things. You could actually see that happening in Ghana.
Well, that would be a good move for Joshua. It takes all the pressure off of him, headlining over here, which obviously he struggled with previously, but he's had enough headline fights regardless of that. But that would take the pressure off of him. He could go over there and fight another, whoever that may be, you know, try and get himself a win or two, maybe, like I say, off the main sort of stream, if you will, and then just try and get yourself going again. Because I think the world and his brother would love to see Joshua back in the ring. They really would. You know, he could potentially be, you know, if he could have a couple of these fights and then, you know, then that keeps his name in the frame. Because when they start talking about world titles again, when Usyk vacates, because he will at some point, then Joshua's right back in the game.
Yeah, it'd be great to see him. It'd be great for, I know that he wants to box in Africa as well, and let's see if that happens. Well, we've got a massive month of boxing coming up in November. We've got Joshua Buatsi versus Zach Parker, November the 1st, up in Manchester. Now, guys, Duke, I'll start with you. Great fight for both guys, and a tough comeback fight, by the way, for Joshua Buatsi.
Yeah, this is why I like Buatsi. Buatsi doesn't take easy fights. He only has hard fights. He only wants the hard fights because he wants to prove himself that he's a world-class fighter. This is as hard a fight as he could want, and he's going to get as hard a fight as he can get. We're going to find out, A, what he's got left, and B, what his ambitions are in terms of, like I say, rejuvenate himself, reinventing himself, I should say, back onto the world scene. If, and it's a big if, he can do a job on Zach Parker, then that's a big statement.
Paul, he's coming off a loss to your brother, Callum. I mean, would you have gone straight back into a tough fight like this for Zach Parker? Where do you see it for Joshua Buatsi? I mean, it's a brave move.
It is, but I mean, no disrespect to Zach Parker saying this. I've seen signs in his last couple of fights that I don't think it's going to be as tough a fight as it would be expected for Buatsi. And I'm missing it might come back to bite me on the backside, that, but from what I saw in Parker's last couple where he's struggled, I think it's probably really good matchmaking because the name on paper is a very good name. It's a tough fight normally, but I've just seen a couple of things in a couple of previous fights. But listen, Buatsi would have been forgiven for taking an easier comeback fight after the war that he had with Callum. That was a war. It was a war of attrition. I was watching it from the corner, in Callum's corner, thinking, when's he going to break? When's he going to... Because he just kept coming, Buatsi. He's tough as anything. And he went up in my estimation. His stock rose that night. When there was a draw, it was always going to rise in because I think he put in a very good performance. But I'm excited he's back. I'm happy he's back. He's a very talented fighter. I think he's got a lot of talent. And I hope he reaches the potential that I felt he had before he turned professional when he won the ABA title years ago. I've got to tell you, both guys showed incredible character there, and it's going to be brilliant to see Joshua Buatsi back. Now, we've got another light heavyweight fight on there. It's for the European title, and we've got Bradley Ray going in against Lyndon Arthur. Now, that's a great fight, Duke, as well.
Oh, like Lyndon Arthur. Like him a lot. He's almost like, he's like one of them fighters that slipped under the radar a little bit. Nobody's really talking about him. But we've seen him fight a few times, Spence, and he can fight. I promise you that. Lyndon Arthur can fight. You know what? That's a good fight.
Yeah,
I think
it's a
really
good show,
fight.
you know, Duke. I think the whole lot. I'm there. I've got young Steve Clark who I'm managing, my brother Stephen Sains on the undercard. So I've obviously been looking forward to the show. But when you go through the show, there's not really a bad fight on it. It's a good show. It's a really good show. I mean, let's fast forward to November the 22nd now. A guy that Lyndon Arthur actually lost to in an incredible fight as well. Anthony Yard, he takes on Benavidez. I mean, what a fight that is. David Benavidez, Anthony Yard. You've got to respect Yard, by the way, haven't you? I mean, the 2 world title shots he's had, you go back 2019 against Sergey Kovalev, and then he goes and boxes Artur Beterbiev. He does well in both of them. He comes off second best, as we all know. But, I mean, you get your third attempt at a world title, you'd hope for an easier route, wouldn't you? But, like, David Benavidez, man, that's a tough fight. Yeah, listen, he's had every opportunity he's had, and he has had the opportunities. It's been a very tough opportunity and a big ask for him, and away from home, and he's doing the same thing again here, albeit it's on neutral territory, although it's away from home, and it's a big ask. And I hope he does well. Listen, I've got nothing against Anthony Yards. I've been vocal about him and his team plenty in the past, but it's not against him personally. I think he's a very good fighter. I think he's got a massive heart and a lot of skill, and he's up against it again as he was in the first 2 fights. But I wish him every success, but it's a good fight. I think it's a really good fight on paper. November the 15th, Eubank Ben, the rematch. Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. I can't wait for this one, guys. I don't know about you. I mean, look, people that are saying they don't want to see this. If you look at that last fight... We can all speak this way because Simon's not here, can't we? Yeah, exactly. That's it. We're boxing men talking now, aren't we? It's like, you know, Simon's watching it at home. He's like, why did I say I didn't want to see that? I mean, that was a great fight, the first one. That 12th round was absolutely incredible. What are you expecting? I'll start with you, Duke. What are you expecting in the rematch?
Well, you know, again, it's not a fight, is it? It's an event. You know, it's an event. The whole night, the whole show, the whole stage is an event. And these 2 men that are fighting are quite evenly matched. But again, I can't see Eubank losing. I know he's, you know, really tight, making weight, one thing or another. But for me, Eubank just ticks all of the boxes. You know, I don't think he's just not genetically, physically big enough to pose him any real threats. He's game and he throws shots, and you know, but they're on a wing and a prayer. He doesn't land as many as he'd like to, obviously. But I can't really see Eubank really slipping up. I can't. What about you, Paul? Where are you at with it? Like, I mean, what do you feel about the rehydration clauses? Everything's the same as what it was last time. Eubank clearly got it wrong, didn't he? And we know we've all had to make weight, so we know how tough it is. And if you get it wrong by a little smidge, the performance is what it is. Eubank clearly got it wrong, so he won that fight, possibly on his worst night. And for me, Conor Benn excelled himself. He come up through the weight divisions and he delivered a performance. Do you see it going the same way, or do you think that Eubank actually could be better? Because a lot of people are saying Eubank that might have taken a lot out of him. Yeah, I think you've just said that exactly
which teased me up nicely to what I was going to say. He won the fight, but he won the fight well, Eubank. I don't think it was a close fight.
No, I mean, you're right.
And I've got, again, no digs at Conor Benn there. It was a great effort. I will be there or will be watching this next fight because I'm interested, because it was a good fight the first time. And that's what made the event great. And I'm a sucker for nostalgia. As soon as I heard Simply the Best and seeing Chris Senior turn up, I was there. My brother Liam was fighting the cat. I was buzzing. I was shouting, I hope he plays Simply the Best. I was there for the nostalgia. I watched the dads. The dads were legends growing up and people I looked up to massively when I was coming through the young amateur ranks myself with my brothers. And I want to see this second fight because the first fight was a really good competitive fight. It shouldn't probably be competitive because of the weight differences. And it shouldn't really be as competitive as it was. But the fact that it is because Eubank is probably a little bit on the decline. I think he'll be a bit better with Bomac in the corner and in the gym now, giving him the right
point, that.
I think that will help him make the weight also, which then will probably transfer into the ring and he'll will be better. I think Conor Benn will be better and have a bit more confidence because he knows he can hurt Eubank. And the reason that he's hurting Eubank is because of what I've just said. I think Eubank is a little bit on the slide, but that's what makes it a very competitive fight. And that's what makes people like me and people like yourselves want to tune in and watch it because it's a competitive fight.
Well, boys, November the 29th, we get Ben Whittaker making his debut on a Matchroom show against Benjamin Gavazzi. Good fight, this one, Duke. It's
a good fight. And what we want to see from Ben Whittaker, you want to see him in good fights. You don't want to see him in fights where he's going to walk in there and blow the other guy out the water. We want to see this guy think and get through the rounds, deliver what he says he's going to deliver. You know, he's got this whole big media circus following him now, where he's got to live up to that kind of hype, which he has done up to this point. So, you know, but Gavazzi's no pushover. It's a tough fight to come back. It's not a comeback fight, but it's a tough fight to have at this stage of his career for Whittaker, but it will give us the answers that we need. It's the step in the right direction.
Absolutely, I agree with that. I mean, what's your thoughts on Ben Whittaker's move from Ben Shalom to Eddie Hearn? Is it the right promoter for him?
I think it's the right promoter for him. Yeah, I think it was a great announcement as well. To be fair, it was funny, it was tongue in cheek, but I really liked it. I thought it fitted the tones perfectly. I think with Whittaker, someone like Liam Cameron was the ideal fight for him, and he should have did in the first fight what he did in the second. He didn't do that in the first, and he come in for a lot of criticism, which then will have made his skin thicken a little bit, create a bit more of a shell and a bit more callous on him because he really got criticised and slagged off for that. But in the comeback fight when he won, when he beat Cameron, you've seen the emotion come through. And I actually spoke to him after it when I met him in Istanbul at an event. I said I was really happy with the way you showed your human side there because he is putting a persona on. You know,
of course
he's not arrogant and cocky. He's a nice lad and he's respectful. But when he's in there, he's putting this act on and that persona because of what he is, a top-class Olympian who's expected big things of in the pros. These tests that he's having now, even the Cameron one included, and this fight, will stand him in good stead for that. And he has to be tested. He can't just be going and blasting people out.
Can he be a world champion?
Do nothing for him.
To both of you guys, do you think that he can fulfil his potential and become a world champion?
Not just yet. I think if he stays on the right trajectory in time, when the champions that are there now, Bivol Batibia, Benavidez, Callum, Boatti, all them lot, when they start to fade out, then obviously who knows what's going to happen with the division, but he's certainly got the potential too. If he has the right training, the right setup around him, he lives the life, there's nothing stopping him because he's very talented. Of course he can.
Yeah, he can become a world champion. He's still learning, he's still relatively quite young, and it's just all about the right matchmaking. I mean, I don't 100% agree with what Paul said earlier on about switching camp and going to the other side. Personally, you know, I'm a little bit old school, if you will, and I'm like, you know what, you just stay where you are because, you know, Ben Shalom's done a great job with him up until this point. He's unbeaten, he's looked good in his fights. I know obviously he had the blip with the Callum, with the boy you mentioned earlier.
You know, the only reason why I mention it is obviously Eddie's a more successful and better promoter, but if you're with Sky Sports, then Shalom's the place to be.
Yeah, he? I mean,
I think he's proven that. Ben Shalom's a newcomer. I've got nothing against Ben Shalom personally, obviously, but
I think for Whittaker, Whittaker's that guy that he's self-promoted, isn't he?
It was perfect for Whittaker.
Yeah.
And now that's not there no more. Then that's probably one of the main reasons.
I don't know, but that's probably one of the main reasons. Doing the Jerry Maguire bit with him on the phone.
We could, to be honest. Listen, boys, on the same night, we've got Fraser Clark going in against Jamie TKV, a fight that has been postponed, but it's now on. There's not a lot of love between these two. How do you see that one?
It's a good fight. It's a good fight. This is like, that's a real, what you call an even money fight. I don't think anybody stands out to be the outright winner, or just it's not a give me, is it? Do you see what I mean? I think they're both gonna have to work really hard for the victory. It doesn't matter who wins. Whoever does win is gonna know that he's been in a fight. TKV, sometimes he's a little bit of a dark horse, that boy. I think he could do well in this fight. He might turn the Fraser Clark over.
You look at the Adelaide fight and it was going his way. Yeah, Adelaide ended up knocking him out in that 6th round. You go and it was controversial. Was it, was it the referee had his involvement in that one? But you look at it and you go, you know what? He is the dark horse. I think that Fraser is the kid with all the pedigree.
Yeah.
But it's a great fight, that one. I mean, where does the winner go, Paul? Like the winner, do you see him in with like a Dave Allen type, a David Adelaide? I mean, where would you put the winner?
I think the winner's well ahead of Dave Allen, without being disrespectful to Dave Allen, because this is for the British title and the British champion at that stage. If you look at the top 20 in Britain, which have just had up then on BoxRec, it's a stacked division. Top 20 in the world. This is like, I think Zhilei Zhang is the number 20th fighter in the heavyweight division in the world. And
would you take the European route? You go down that route, you know what I mean? You win the British, the old school style.
Yeah, he could do, Spencer. The European title's a great title, obviously, but I think with Fraser, don't forget, Fraser stayed amateur and had 2 Olympic cycles with Joe Joyce and with Anthony Joshua.
Yeah.
That will have took a lot out of him as well. So although he's relatively a young professional, he's got a bit of miles on the clock from that tough amateur career. And we had him on last week and we were talking with him about that amateur career and whether it was right for him. But it was the only thing he probably could have done. So I think he's going to have to just take the handbrake off. If he wins this fight, Fraser Clark, which we probably think he might, then he's got to just try and get called some of these names out that are on the heavyweight list, and there's enough of them out there.
Great comeback, by the way, from Fraser Clark. When you looked at the facial damage that he had, when against Fabio Wardley, and you go, will he even return? He's come back. He's had that win over Ebenezer Teti, and you go, he's put himself in this position now. You go, you got to respect that, Duke.
Yeah, listen, it's called character, isn't it? He's just showing that he's got character. He's not about to swallow and just hide and wither away. He's saying to himself, you know what? I had that defeat, and now this is my chance to. It's like redemption, isn't it, in more ways than one?
Yeah.
And I do think in this particular fight, it's not a gimme, as I said, but you would expect Fraser Clark, if he's got anything about him, he's got to come out on top.
Well, that's it for episode 144 of Talk Boxing. Paul, Duke, thanks very much, and we will see you next week.